Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg. Welcome back to Hanging with Mangg, episode 412. We're playing here some Cult of the Lamb, which, if you are not aware, is sort of the latest hotness. That plenty of people are playing and talking about. You know, just one of those kind of indie games that comes out of nowhere and captures the attention of a bunch of different gamers. I've already seen mentions that it's a possible contender for Game of the Year. Much like, you know, Hades from last year, I think. Yes, Cult of the Lamb. And I've been playing a little bit of it, not overwhelming amounts. People say it's not very long, but it feels kind of lengthy. But yeah, it's sort of almost like ActRaiser-esque to me. Like the idea of combining action sequences where you're going out into the world and killing things and stuff like that, and then coming back to like a town in order to build it up and do like a completely different segment of gameplay. It's certainly different because the action sequences in ActRaiser served no purpose for the town building's purpose. It just was like required. Whereas here you're going out and you're gathering different resources and things like that that you bring back in order to help build up your town. But it was yeah, Dark Cloud. That's also also a good example. Also, I think Soul Blazer on the SNES, sort of similar vibes of you going into dungeons over and over in order to continually help build up a town. There wasn't like really choices in that game of how you build up the town or any sort of management of the town, but again, like this isn't an entirely, I don't think there's anything entirely new here. It's just a blending of a lot of different other genres and games. And it does it pretty well, and it has cutesy animals, so that helps. Aside from that, you may or may not be able to tell. I hope you can tell, but I don't know. I'm using a different microphone setup here. I'd recently switched to a different headset. And although I was overwhelmingly pleased with the quality of the headphone portion, I just couldn't shake the feeling that the microphone portion could be done better. And I was like, you know, no streamer or big YouTuber, I mean, no one uses a headset. And there has to be a reason for that other than just like they don't want to spend money to buy a good headset. I was like, there just can't be that good of a headset. And so I was like, you know, they all use microphones, generally with like boom arms. And I had said before that my issue with the boom arm and having a microphone like that was I didn't like it in front of my face. After digging into it a bit more, though, I realized not only do you not have to have it in front of your face, it's not even recommended to have it in front of your face due to, like, visibility and plosives. So I was like, you know, I don't think I ever tried not having it in front of my face. So I went and dug up my old cobweb-covered boom arm, and I grabbed a microphone from, like, 7 years ago. Just like an old Shure XLR mic. And so this is what it is. It's off center. It's like to the side of me. I barely notice it being there. And in the little test that I did, it sounded like pretty damn good. Am I playing this for my throne? No. I have temporarily abandoned the throne. And not because the throne is shit. Alright, let me be clear on that. The throne is pretty awesome. But there's some issues with the throne. One is, part of my annoyance with the throne is that your posture is always locked in. Yes, you can, like, recline. But there's no, like, shifting in your seat or anything like that. Or sometimes, like, I like to kneel on the seat, you know, and just kind of, like, sit backwards in the chair. You know, I like to do, you know, I sit in a chair for a lot of it every day. So I like to reposition a lot. And you can't do that in the throne. So that was one issue. The other issue is the build quality, I guess, or the construction. Already, the stitching on the side of the seat has torn. Because if you sit in the center of the seat, you know, you're pulling it in and it's anchored to the metal frame. So it's being pulled in like two different directions, and that has caused the stitching to tear. So that's not great. And I feel like, and another thing is with the actual footrest. I noticed within like a week that if I extended the footrest up as far as possible, whenever I brought it back down, the metal would like pop. And I was like, that can't be good. So since then, I've never fully extended the footrest. So if I used the throne every day, 15 hours a day for the next year, it probably would just like break irreparably in some fashion. The third reason I guess I would say is that I'm one of those people that just like constantly likes to rearrange and just like change my setup in my room. When I was younger, I used to do that like every month. I would just drastically like change the layout of my room. And I did some really funky ass layouts where I was like, my bed was like partially in my closet and my computer was next to my bed. I mean, I just like, I love doing that. And when I was in my condo, there was no option for that. Like I never got to rearrange. But since I've moved into this house, I've rearranged my layout of my main room here like 6 times already. So that's why I say I've temporarily abandoned the throne. I will be back to it, no doubt. Because I'm going to be like, fuck this desk shit, I need my throne again. So don't fret too much. Anyways, this week on this channel we had more of the quarry. Which, I think there's only one more video of the quarry, I think. It's like 8 parts. Not an incredibly long game. after the quarry is done, I might just do Cataclysm stuff. So then we just have RimWorld and Cataclysm stuff just being put out there with occasional best games of all time. And yeah, I mean, other than the best games of all time, I guess I don't have that many, like, actual Let's Plays sitting around. There's a new Soulsborne game that people are talking about called, like, Themisia or something like that. I did buy it. I played it for like an hour or so. Hour and a half, maybe. I didn't do a Let's Play of it because I was like, I just know that I'm going to end up getting real pissed off at this game and abandon it. So I'm like, screw it, I'll just play it a little bit myself. It's alright. For me, still the best Souls-like has been the Surge 2. But maybe that's just because I, like, you know, I got the Surge 2. I figured it out. And at that point, it's just enjoyable. But I don't know. It together. Yeah. Haven't listened to it yet, but you must have dug Mule because that's a long vid. Yes, Mule is... yeah, I would say Mule is the best game on the list that I was not aware of before. Mule is a fantastic game that really, really, really deserves, like, an awesome modern, like, remaster. And I have played it now twice with other people. Both times were fantastic. I have also, well, the second time I played... You know, the first time was with the Atari 800 version. And they were very skeptical going in, because, I mean, that is some old-ass looking shit. But we had a lot of fun. But I was like, there has to be something of a more modern version of this that we can play. And that's what they were like. They're like... Really, there's no more modern of a version of this? And so I ended up finding a clone of the game from 1992 called Subtrade that has, like, almost like SNES graphics, I would say. And so we played that, and that was also a lot of fun. And that, I would say, is just kind of a better version of Mule, but still. Oh shit, he's reached old age. So, I mean, I wish I could just say, like, there's an awesome modern remake of Mule on Steam. Go go get it, go play it with your friends. But there really isn't. So it's a bit of a harder sell for me to say, like, oh, go download an Amiga emulator and get Subtrade, because it's great. I mean, it is great, and you probably should do that, but I understand if you won't. Yeah, so that's all that, and on yesterday, we did some more Two Brothers Play Parkitect. Lego's wife, Kelly, joined us, because Parkitect supports up to 8 players simultaneously, and it does it basically seamlessly with no issues, so that's pretty awesome. So we're going to continue that next week. Over on the Exploring series, I released a video on the Wandsman, which performed quite well. I mean, relatively. And then this week, I worked on just sort of a little quirky, weird kind of cult SCP titled Good Airwaves, like 27 minutes long. And then next week I was going to work on another, like, nature SCP about a rainbow serpent, but DJ Cactus surprised us all by releasing the latest entry in the Cactusverse. Demon Ogier. And the Throne of Blood, or whatever. So that's a big one. So all plans going forward will cease until Ogier is done. And that, of course, will be a big 2-parter, because it's like 29,000 words. Okay, so you have to... Oh, I see. Yes, it makes sense. Alright. You were wondering why you recognized my voice? Wow. And most people on this channel have either watched me for like a decade or have come from the Exploring series. Yes, I do have a playlist of Cactusverse stuff. And there will eventually be a giant video in which I summarize the entire Cactusverse as it is. And I asked Cactus, like, when would be a good point for me to do that. Like, how many more articles is he going to be writing before there's, like, a good summary point? He said, like, one more. He said, like, there will be one more big article, and then at that point, it'll be like, this is everything we know about this history up to this point. And then now we're just going to be, like, speculating on the future. I don't know precisely what he meant by that. But I said, you know, that's good enough for me to to do the summary. So yeah, that'll be exciting stuff. And then right after we finish O-Gear, we're going to roll right into the SCP-7000 entries. Exciting stuff. You came from under my couch. That's also acceptable. You came from the Exploring series, but you subscribed to this channel months ago and you forgot. That's also understandable. Yeah. Well, how about you quit waving at me and you help me build this fucking bed? Build decorations. I'm building you beds. Is that not enough? Decorations. Okay, well, I've got some flower beds. They're a needy bunch. Yeah, you know. Cult followers. They're always wanting something. Beds and shit and food. So yeah, that's pretty much where the Exploring series is at. Followers will be called mangoes. Getting enlightenment, you don't need no food. Yes! Faith will be your sustenance. So I went to a wedding yesterday. And man, oh man, it was like a real fucking hipster wedding. Okay. For one, just to give you an example of how much of a hipster wedding it was, the DJ had 2 turntables set up and exclusively used vinyl records for the music. And so, what do you typically expect of like a wedding DJ is a guy there with like a laptop and, you know, he's got his playlist or whatever, you know, and maybe he's doing some mixing or something like that, but usually he's on there like as an MC as well, like, you know, hyping up the crowd and talking and, you know, getting people on the dance floor, you know, all things like that. Like, that's sort of what I expect. But this guy never said a word and was just constantly moving vinyls on and off the turntables and, like, lining up the needles and just, like... What was he playing? He was playing a lot of stuff from, like, the 70s. 60s, 70s. I'm trying to think of, like, what all we heard. Like, there was definitely multiple Bob Marley... There was not enough Sam Cooke for my tastes. Like, if you're going to be playing that kind of stuff. House of the Rising Sun came on at some point. I'm like, I've never heard this at a wedding. And like, what? No, who's going to go out onto the dance floor to House of the Rising Sun? So that was insane. And... it sounds unusual. Oh, yeah, I know. So then, finally, like, the actual dancing portion of the night comes around. So the newlyweds do their first dance. I don't even know what song it was that they did it to, but it was like... It was more of like a modern, like, R&B song, but it was, like, very, like, sexual. Like, there was, like, moaning on it, and it was just, like... Someone shouted, like, get a room. I mean, it was just kind of odd. And then, right after that, like, the DJ just went back to playing, like, the songs that he had been playing. Like, there was no change now that the dancing was supposed to start. And he just kept on playing just, like, these random songs from, like, the 60s and 70s and stuff. And at one point, Lego and his wife, they were planning on leaving, but they wanted to do like one slow dance before they left. And he was not playing like any slow dance songs at that point. So my mom went over to him and she's like, "Could you play like a slow song next?" And apparently he said like, I can try. It's like, you can try. This is your job. You're at a wedding. It's outrageous. Like, he seemed confused by the question. So he finally does play a slow song, but it's like a really slow song. Like, people were hesitant to even go out there because it was just like... It was like molasses kind of slow song. and then, right after that, he just goes back to playing just like... I don't know, some like Bob Marley song or, something like that. And I'm like, has this guy never done a wedding before? Like, one of the first things you do is you play like a good slow song to get like all the couples out there and stuff so that you fill the dance floor. And then right after that, you need to play like Shout or something like that. You need to play a song that everybody knows and just gets people just grooving. And you need to keep them in that groove for as long as possible until they tire out or something like that. But you need to keep the dance floor full. Until he played that slow song that my mom requested, there was not a single person on the dance floor. It was dead. And he just looked like he couldn't have given a shit about it. And so, I mean, by the time we left, we had not heard Shout, we had not heard the chicken dance, we had not heard Macarena, nothing. Like... How do you have a wedding without Shout? It's insane to me. And maybe he played it later, but that is not like a much later kind of song. You want to play that when you have the most people there. Anyways, I don't know. So that was weird. Bro busts out Cat's in the Cradle for the dance portion. I mean, basically... Or Celebrate, or We Are Fan. I mean, yeah, there's just wedding staples for a reason, because everyone knows them. And they feel just perfectly comfortable dancing to it. Can't just play fucking House of the Rising Sun. So yeah, that was wild. Music commands him. Doesn't tell the music what to do. Ugh. And then he had like such a hipster haircut. Where it was like kind of a mohawk, but it was all just kind of like poofy. You probably know what I'm talking about. So, okay. I mean, that was one thing. Make Barbados eat bowl of poop. Great. You want a fucking bowl of poop, dude? You're getting it. I'll cook it right up for you. So anyway, that was not the What was his facial hair like? Oh, like a sort of a hungover stubble, I guess is how I would describe it. That was not the only hipster element, of course, though. The other main hipster element was the actual venue itself of where the wedding took place. It took place... I mean, from the street, I would have guessed that it looked like some sort of old mechanic shop or something. Like, just sort of... No, almost more like an abandoned building. Like, if we had driven by and you said, oh, you know, that building's abandoned, and some say it's haunted, I would say, okay. So this was not a massive building. And you get in there, and when we arrived, we were a little late. But they had a bunch of just metal folding chairs in the center for people to sit to watch the ceremony. But then all along the sides, they had, like, old couches. Like, old yellow couches from, like, the 60s. And these were all around the sides. Along with, like, lamps from the 50s or something. Everything looked dusty. Possibly on purpose. Like, they actually found dust and, like, poured it on somehow. There were, like, old-looking... I mean, fake plants, like, up in the rafters and stuff. And I was like, I can see the dust from across the room on these things. There were a bunch of, like, mirrors around, like, old-looking mirrors. Where they actually stood for the ceremony, there was, like, this giant metal door that looked covered in rust and, like, scratches. Oh, there was one section of the whole wall that was covered in, like, power boxes. Like, power utility boxes and fuse boxes and things like that. And it looked like authentic, like this was where the fuse box section was. Like, they didn't put it there, that's where it was. There were just, like, big metal beams above our heads and stuff. And then there was, like, the whole wall above the big metal door was covered in small, broken windows. I would say 80% of these small windows were broken, shattered. Some of it looked like bullet holes. I don't know what, but it was just like practically all of them were broken in some way. And so their wedding photos are on, like, a concrete floor, a giant rusty metal door, and a wall of broken windows. That's what's going to be in their photos. And I was just like, wedding, you know, matrimony is supposed to be like a symbol of unity and togetherness and wholeness. Why would you want that represented in the background by a wall of broken windows? Was this an anti-wedding wedding or something? I don't know what it was. I mean, clearly it was just like their style and what they liked. So dinner, yeah. Well, dinner was an issue because the ceremony took place at the same spot as the reception. So everything happened in this dingy, like, old school broken window place. The ceremony was at 2:30. Dinner was at 5. With an open bar. Now, if you don't know, that's a bad idea. Because people will have nothing to do but to drink. And no food to counter the drink. So, yeah, there was a lot of drunkenness going on. But it's like, even if they broke something, it would just, like, add to the decor, apparently. But if you're someone that doesn't heavily drink, such as myself, like, you're just sitting there for 2.5 hours on, like, metal chairs. And they didn't even have, like, pretzels out, or, I mean, there was nothing. It was just sit there and either drink or stay bored. So, I mean, I had a rum and coke, but it's like, I'm fucking hungry. Oh, they had PBR. Yeah, they definitely had PBR. And there were plenty of people drinking it. There was also a lot of sandals. Probably the most amount of sandals I've seen at an indoor wedding. But anyways, dinner finally came. And despite what you may expect, it was not a vegan dinner. It was like the most unique dinner I've had at a wedding. Basically, they brought in a local taco truck. And so this taco truck, like Taqueria, I'm not pronouncing it right. Taqueria, I don't remember. Anyway, it was a very authentic Mexican taco truck. It just pulled up, like, outside of the venue. And it was all, like, paid for. Like, we didn't have to pay for anything. And you could just eat as many tacos as you wanted. And they were really fucking good tacos. So, yeah, ironically, the best wedding dinner I've ever had. And so then, like, later, as I was leaving, they were still there. So I just got a box of tacos to go home. And, yeah. So that was actually really fantastic. Power move. I mean, hey, I paid for it, in a sense. They got my wedding gift. I'm entitled to some tacos. But yeah, they were really good. I mean, it was like $3.50 a taco. So they certainly paid a bill at the end of that night. But yeah, it was good. So there was that was the hipster wedding. Yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess. So I assume this microphone sounds good then. It sounded good when I was testing it, so I just want to make sure. I know we're never going to get to like my proper exploring series mic setup, but all right, sounds good. All right then, yeah. So this week, last video of the quarry, some more RimWorld, probably starting up some Cataclysm. Two Brothers play Parkitect, so on and so forth. This is good for a game and vibe, Mike. Yeah. Well, that's what we do here. Over on the Exploring series, we've got Good Airwaves coming out tomorrow. And then next week, Demon Ogier Part 1. Very exciting. Part 1 is definitely going to be a lot of just, like, reading verbatim. There's a whole giant section of just, like, diary and journal entries, which makes me very happy because I love doing that. But I wouldn't be shocked if, like, part 1 of Ogier is, like, an hour and a half. And I think people will be pleased with that. Yeah, so that's that. Thank you all for joining, for chatting, for hanging out, for vibing as you are. But for now, my name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg. I'll see you fine folks next week.